Today I'm going to teach you one of the most important things you can ever learn about music and the piano, the major scale. Major scales are a fundamental building block for composers when they write music. So if you're going to play someone else's music effectively, you've got to know major scales. And if you're going to become a better improviser, major scales are one of the most important tools you can use. Now just to get started, let's quickly review the difference between a half step and a whole step. A half step up from the note C takes us to C sharp or D flat, while a half step down from C takes us to the note B. Now a whole step is simply two half steps. So again, moving up from the note C, two half steps takes us up to D. While moving down a whole step from C, we pass through the note B to the B flat. Two half steps equals one whole step. Okay, there's a formula for major scales, and I want you to memorize this and learn it for the rest of your life, okay? No matter what note you start from, you move up a whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Here's a quicker way of remembering that. Whole, half, whole, half. Let's test it out. Start from any pitch. In this case, I'm going to start from a black note. Call it A flat. And we're going to go a whole step up, that takes us to B flat. Now another whole step up, that takes us to C. Then a half step, that takes us to D flat. Now a whole step to E flat. Now a whole step to F. And then a whole step to G. And we finish out with a half step. And you always are going to end on the same note you started on, but just an octave higher. So depending on the note you start from, you might have several black keys in your major scale. So it just so happens that if you start from the note C and do the formula correctly, you're going to end up with all white keys. And that's why we often start with the key of C as the beginning place to learn your major scales, and I'll do the same. So to teach you the C major scale, we'll first remind you our fingering scheme for our hands. Thumbs are 1, this is 2, middle fingers are 3, then this is our fourth finger, and pinkies are 5. So with your right hand, you're going to place your thumb, first finger, on the note middle C. And then you're going to play the D with your second finger and the E with your third finger. Now here's where we have to do something technical. We're going to cross our thumb underneath and play the F, and then we move on upwards with our second finger, third finger, fourth, and then we finish out. That way we have no fingers left over. We have just enough fingers to finish out our scale. So the trickiest part is that point where we have to cross under. So here's what I want you to do. Just play that far, and then turn right around and come back. C up to F, and just cross under, turn around, come right back. And do that about, oh, say, 1,000 times. Just practice that cross under. In fact, you could even just do this several times. And when you really feel like you've gotten comfortable with that, crossing under now, then let yourself continue on to the top of the scale. To reverse the scale, start with your pinky, your fifth finger, on the note C, and we come down until we run out of fingers. And then I bet you can guess what we do. We're going to reverse the process and bring our third finger over. And then we move on to finish out the scale. So again, I want you to do just that portion where you cross over with your third finger. Cross. And just repeat that several times, crossing over. And do that over and over until you're very comfortable with it. Then start from the top again. Cross over now, and then finish out the scale. Let's try the whole scale up and down. Remember where we have to cross. 1, 2, 3. Cross under with our first finger. Then 2, 3, 4, and 5. We can start over and come back down. Our second finger, our thumb, first finger, then cross over. 3, 2, 1. Notice how that transition where I cross is very smooth. We don't hear a jump or a stutter there like that. No, we keep it very smooth and connected so that we wouldn't even hear that we did anything strange with our hand. Same thing, when we begin from the top, we can turn right around again, come down, make the transition very smooth, cross over to where we don't even hear anything peculiar about it. Okay, now the left hand. The fingering is going to be a little bit different, and we also have a crossover point. We're going to start with our fifth finger, our pinky. I'm going to start one octave lower than we did with our right hand, so that eventually when we put our hands together, they'll be out of the way of each other. So again, our fifth finger, and now we play all the way up until we run out of fingers. And now we cross over with our third finger. So we have just enough fingers left to finish out the octave. Nothing's left over. Now I just want you to practice that much. Come up to the fifth note with your thumb and cross over with 3. Cross over. And just practice that crossover about 1,000 times. Maybe practice from the bottom again. And just cross over nice and smooth. Just a couple of notes maybe. And when you feel very comfortable with crossing over, then finish out the scale. And then now we're going to reverse the direction. Start from the top with your thumb and come down to the third finger and reverse the process. Now this is where it's tricky because you think you still have fingers left over, but you have to bring your thumb underneath. See how I did that? From the third finger, thumb comes underneath. It was the same fingering I used when I went up. Now the thing is, you're going to forget to do that many, many times. You're going to think I still have fingers left, and you're going to want to use one of them, but don't do it. Fight against that tendency. Bring your thumb under, and then you can finish up the scale with all the fingers you have left over, and you end up on your pinky, your fifth finger. So here it is all together nice and smooth. Fifth finger, fourth, third, second, thumb, and then bring over the third, nice and smooth. 2 and 1. Now we reverse the process. From our third finger, thumb comes under, nice and smooth. Finish it out, no fingers left over. Well, now you take some time to work on that. Just the right hand, that can be, you can spend days just on the right hand. And when you're comfortable with that, then go ahead and work on just the left hand. Now, for those of you who want a little bit more of an advanced practice skill, you put your hands together. So we're going to start with our thumb in our right hand and our pinky in our left hand. And we're going to put that process together where both hands need to be able to cross over at different points. The third note, now our right hand has to cross while the left hand continues up. Now our left hand needs to cross while the right hand continues. And we get up to the note C, no fingers are left over. That's always a good sign. We're reversing the process. Left hand has to cross under now. Right hand continues on. Right hand now has to cross over with our third finger. Left hand continues. And we end on the last note. No fingers left over. Well done. Now, I'm a big fan of practicing everything you do with a metronome. It keeps you honest and teaches you the basics of rhythm from the very beginning of your piano studies. So I've set my metronome at 60 beats per minute. That's fairly slow. It's just 1 beat every second. And I want you to practice your major scale, starting from C, with 1 note for every beat. And try to stay honest. Here we go, just the right hand first. Cross. Turn around. Cross, coming up now. Now the left hand by itself. Come down, cross under. Finish up. And when you're feeling brave, you can put the hands together. Right hand cross. Left hand cross. Left hand cross. Right hand over. Nice and smooth, 1 note per beat. So there you go, major scales. This is the fundamental thing you've got to get better at, so you might as well start right now. And you've got the key of C all figured out, so get to rocking and have a good time. we need to remind ourselves the fingering scheme we have on our hand. For either hand, we always refer to your thumb by the number 1. So this is your first finger in either hand. Your pointed finger, that's 2.